This week we are talking engine bay detailing. Today I'm going to be breaking down how I clean the typical engine bay on your everyday passenger vehicle. So I'm going to be giving you guys all the chemicals that I use to get the job done, the tools that I use, and I'm going to show you guys my entire process, including a couple things that I like to do in order to minimize the risk of causing damage to the engine or any other critical components. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Yo, what is up, guys? Jamie from Jamie's Detailing. Today we are going over how I clean engine bays. Now, cleaning engine bays, a lot of people get a little nervous to do, but cleaning engine bays, especially on modern day cars, is extremely easy, and overall, it's actually extremely safe. So I'm gonna jump over to the car here in just a second, but I'm gonna be showing you guys a couple precautions that I take before jumping into my engine bay detail, and I'm gonna be showing you guys all the chemicals and tools that I use to get the job done. So let's go ahead and jump over to this vehicle, and I'm gonna show you guys my entire engine bay detailing process. Alright, so here we are at our vehicle, and the first thing I'm going to do is glove up, because some of the chemicals that we're using today are a little bit caustic, so I want to, just protect my skin as best I can from these chemicals. So we're going to go ahead and toss these guys on real quick. There we go. Now, the first thing that you guys want to do when you guys are doing an engine detail is you guys want to actually inspect the engine bay. So I'm just going to actually look at all the hoses. I'm going to look at all the cables in here. I'm going to look at all the connection points. Make sure everything seems solid. Look at all of these connectors on here. Make sure there's no loose or frayed wires anywhere that you can tell. And then from there, guys, you guys can go ahead and get started with the detail. So now that I've gone through and checked the entire engine bay, and I know that this engine looks good to go for us to proceed with the detail, if anything looked off on this engine bay, I would want to make sure that I bring it to my customer's attention. If it's your vehicle, then you guys can do what you want, but if you guys are working on a customer's vehicle, you guys are going to want to make sure to bring up anything that you need to the customer and see if he wants you to proceed from there. But again, guys, always keep in mind risk management. If you think you could have a potential in damaging something in the cleaning process, then I would forego the engine detail and do everything else that you guys were hired to do, and clear that with your customer as well. Now that we checked out this engine and we know that it's good to go, the first thing that I want to do, guys, is I want to actually block off our air box. Now, this doesn't have a cold air intake or anything like that. It just has a standard stock air box, but it has an intake right here. So I want to go ahead and do my best to block this intake, and this looks huge, but it's actually just this right side over here that we need to block. So we're gonna go ahead and stuff a little microfiber towel in there, and this is going to catch any moisture. We're not really going to spray this area too much with the water, but the towel right here is going to keep any water from going down in there. Now, this airbox does have a way for the water to actually drip out of the bottom if any water does get in there, so it's really not that big of a deal with these stock airboxes, but just something to be aware of. Now, the next thing that we want to protect is the alternator. Now, alternators aren't actually waterproof. They are a little bit water resistant, but they're not waterproof. And we're going to be using a little bit of water with our pressure washer to get this thing rinsed down when the time comes. So we're just going to go ahead and protect our actual alternator with some kind of plastic bag or whatever we can really kind of block this thing from getting completely drenched with water. Now, if it's too hard to cover, then you guys are just going to have to do your absolute best to not get it wet during the detailing process. So I'm going to go ahead and take this bag and see if I can just kind of wrap it around here the best I can. Kind of put that over the pulley. And now we have this little part of the engine is semi-protected. So we're still going to just do our best to not really spray this area. Let me see if I can get this up over here. There we go. Get that around the back just a little more. All right, now if we had some tape or something like that, you guys could totally like throw a little tape on there. But I'm just gonna do my best to not get the alternator too wet or drench it when we're actually doing our cleaning process. All right, so now that we have this guy all protected and everything's ready to be actually sprayed with our chemical, before we do that, I'm actually gonna blow this entire engine bay out just because it's so full of all these leaves and everything else that is kind of collected in here over time. So we're gonna go ahead and blow all of that out first with just using our Tornador. Now, if you guys don't have a Tornador, you guys could use one of these little electronic air dusters, and I'm playing with a few right now that I'm going to feature later on the channel, so make sure that you guys subscribe so that you guys can see that content in the future. But just so you guys can kind of see how these work, this one has like 800 grams of blowing force, a ton of power. So this one's even blowing stuff that our Tornador wasn't. So this thing just moves a ton of air. So if you guys don't want to get a whole Tornador setup, you can totally use something little like this, or even littler, something like this. So this is the SDFM, playing around with this guy right now, the X15. This one can move a ton of air as well, so I've really been liking playing around with these two guys the past week or so, but I'm still testing them out, so yeah, definitely on a future video. So now that we have everything blown out and ready to be sprayed down, I'm going to be using Muscle Magic today at 4:1. This is a pretty standard dilution ratio. If it's an extremely greasy, grimy type engine, you guys could use 1:1, but I wouldn't really dilute it anything more, anything less than 1:1, like full strength, just because this is a very concentrated cleaner, and like a lot of other APCDs, it is caustic. And I think this thing's around a 13.5 or 14 or so on the pH scale. So one of the highest pH APCDs that I know of. Very concentrated chemical. But anyways, guys, I have this guy in here at 4:1. We're gonna go ahead and coat the entire engine bay with this stuff. And we're also gonna get this little ledge right here. Alright, guys. And it looks like we lost our little alternator cover, but we're not going to worry, guys. I'm going to show you guys how to do it without the alternator covered. We're just going to be very careful, and we're not going to spray into the alternator. So here we go with our chemical. We're just putting it where we need it. There we go. Go ahead and get the top of that. Go ahead and get the top of the valve cover. Alright, guys. And this guy has not been foaming for me very good lately, so I definitely need to rebuild it, probably swap out some stuff on here. But yeah, we'll do that in the future. For now, this is all we really need. So now that we have chemical down everywhere, guys, we can let this dwell for a couple minutes, but I want to go ahead and get to work. So I'm going to take this boar's hair brush that I have right here, and I'm going to start agitating all the hard plastics. Don't worry so much about all the little intricate details and stuff like that. We're going to just hit that with our pressure washer when we're done. So I'm going to get into here, into all these plastic areas, all the stuff that we really know we can't really do any damage to. That's all the stuff that we really want to target, especially all these plastic pieces. Go ahead and get the top of this valve cover. And don't go crazy around all these electronics, especially if it's not your vehicle. Again, risk management, guys. Go ahead and get that all nice and shiny for them. There we go. And our goal here, guys, is a good 90%. Doesn't have to be a show car here. Alright. Let's go ahead and get that all scrubbed down. Biggest thing I like to focus on, guys, are the plastics, especially when I'm just doing a customer vehicle. And this is a very important customer. This is my parents' car. So we got plenty of time to work on it. Ooh, and that intake is dirty. Oh, this car is this thing turboed? Yeah, this is turbo car. I did not know that. All right. Get all the tops of these plastics. These hoses, relatively good. Nothing too crazy. And now there's a ton of oil around here from just oil changes, so that's usually a thing you're gonna have to clean off a little bit more. And you guys can see all this dirt and grime is literally just melting off with muscle magic. All right, all of these hoses are looking pretty good. Tops of our plastics are looking pretty good. Power steering. The one thing I saved for last is this top part because I wanted to pay special attention and let you guys know about these, but this is a common part that a lot of people mess up on. So I'm going to kind of show you the gentlest and best way to actually clean these the top of the hood when it has these extremely soft heat shields on them. So we're actually going to completely ignore this entire heat shield. We don't really want to get it too wet. So I'm just going to put a little bit of cleaner in here. And we're just going to hit it around all these areas. You don't need to go crazy with it. And we don't need to get crazy with the cleaning. Should be just very light dirt under the hood. Surface dirt. Come over here. Hopefully I won't get my camera all wet. Now you guys notice I did not spray any chemical on the middle of our hood where we have that soft heat shield. Gently clean all around it. And that is it for our hood, guys. Let's go ahead and get this whole area. All right, might as well get the tops of the headlights. This little area where the hood sits. All right, and we are looking pretty good. Now remember, we're not scrubbing all this metal stuff over here with Muscle Magic. One, it's gonna chalk everything up if we're over here agitating all of it. So we're just gonna let the Muscle Magic, if any got on these metal parts, like the whole belt assembly, basically, if anything gets on there, we're just gonna rinse it off very, very gently and very, very quickly. You guys can use a tool, something like this. This is an old tire brush, typically used for the barrels of your tires. You guys can actually use this to get into all those hard to reach spaces. But again, guys, if you can't see there as a customer's car, you might not want to clean there, just because it's a way to minimize risk, right? If we're cleaning places we can't see, there's a chance that we could damage a component back behind there. So just clean the top surfaces when it's a client's vehicle. So now that we have everything cleaned off, we're first gonna finish blowing off this top heat shield. I forgot to do that earlier. All right, and real quickly, I'm gonna pop out our little towel that we were using for the air intake. I'm just gonna pop that out for a second, and there is a couple stains on our heat shield, some mud and dirt. We're just gonna wipe that up. We don't even wanna get it all completely soaked or anything. We're just gonna do the best we can, wipe it up. So the client's vehicle, and these things damage extremely easily. So we're just trying to minimize risk as best we can. So once we do that, we can shove this guy back in the air intake. There we go. Now it is time to rinse. So for our hood, I'm actually going to swap to my shower nozzle. Now, I haven't featured this on the channel yet, but this is a great nozzle to have for your pressure washer, and it actually just lets out a really gentle, nice little shower. So I'm gonna use this for this top portion. And notice we really didn't focus any water in the center part, guys. It's okay to get it a little bit wet, but I really don't want to get it completely drenched. And I really don't want to hit it with a pressure washer, because the pressure washer, if these things that are at all worn down, the pressure washer will actually tear into them, even a low PSI pressure washer. So it's just nicer to avoid it and use something like a a shower nozzle, or the Kiev nozzle, as made popular by cars with Kiev. So shout out to Kiev. Now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my 40-degree white nozzle, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop that on my pressure washer. This is gonna be our widest and gentlest nozzle that I have. So we're gonna use this to actually pressure wash the remainder of this engine. So when we get to this air box, we're gonna go straight down on the air box, so we're not shooting water into the air box. So we're gonna go ahead and just go straight down with it, guys. And now you guys can see I'm getting closer and closer to the alternator as we're rinsing. So I'm gonna start shooting this way away from the alternator. So hopefully our splash basically goes this way and not straight down into the alternator. Now, another part that you guys are obviously going to want to be aware of is the fuse box, which on this vehicle is way over here. So we're not going to be trying to put a ton of water over by the fuse box. And right here is our computer. Now, all of these components should be pretty much water resistant. The fuse box, if it was open, wouldn't be, yeah, you wouldn't want to get that wet if it was open. But since it's all covered and the computer on here is sealed, we should be totally fine with these newer modern vehicles. And again, I'm not just blasting water at the computer. I'm just kind of spraying over it, getting the chemical off, and moving on. Always pointing away from that alternator. Again, it's okay if it gets a tiny bit wet, but you don't want to get it drenched or anything like that. Alright, so now that we have all the chemical rinsed off, we can actually go ahead and grab our blow tool and start kind of blowing out all the cracks, crevices, and all the spots where the water is sitting. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this tool right here real quick. This is the SDFM X15, just kind of testing it out right now. So yeah, I just want to test it out on part of this engine, and then I'm going to show you guys an actual blow tool that I normally would be using for professional detailing. Alright, I'm actually fairly impressed, especially because of the fact that I'm getting this thing soaked right now. So we're going to leave it alone for a little bit and kind of see how this turns out. I'm going to be doing a full review in the future, kind of putting this thing through the paces and really testing it out for professional detailing and just for hobbyists as well. So we'll see how this thing goes in the long term. So I'll be testing this thing out over the next couple weeks. So you just saw how the little air duster works, but this is an actual professional air blower. So I want you guys to see how this does in comparison to a tiny little air duster, which actually moves quite a bit of air. So let me show you guys this guy instead. Now I'm just taking that towel that we had in the air intake, and I'm just kind of wiping over anything that I think needs a little bit of a touch up. There is a little bit of dirt on some of this valve cover. So I went ahead and just kind of fingered it in there real quick. Just get that guy nice and clean, looking the way we want and ready for dressing. Any of these surfaces look at all dirty, just touch them up a little bit. I like to go over kind of just everything. Over here, guys, we have a little bit of foam coming out of here, so we're just going to do our best to get that tucked back in the fender where it should be. Could have popped out during the blowing process or something. Now, when it comes to dressing the engine bay, we actually have a few different options. Now, you can go with something specific for dressing plastics and stuff like that, like Instant Shine from Superior Products. This is an aerosol-based quick detailer. You guys can use it on, vinyl. You guys can use it on plastic. You guys can use it on a whole bunch of hard surfaces in your vehicle and on the exterior of the vehicle. But some people don't like stuff like this because it tends to be a little shiny. Me personally, I don't mind if the engine bay is a little shiny, and I can kind of knock that down a little bit just by going over it with a microfiber towel. Now, our other option that we have is we could kind of cheat a little bit and just use an aerosol base tire dressing. Very similar type of product, but this guy would work perfect for the engine bay as well. And this is going to give you one of those really shiny looking engine bays, kind of like what you would see off of a used car lot. So both of these guys are going to be your shiniest options. But for today, I'm going to be using Aqua Gloss at 3-to-1 out of my detail sprayer. This is how I typically would do an engine bay. It's super quick, super easy, but if you guys don't have a whole aerosol or air setup, then you guys may want to go the aerosol route, just because it makes dressing the engine really quick, really easy, and it gives the engine a good amount of protection, and keeps a lot of the dirt and debris off of there for longer than if it was just left dry. So we're gonna go ahead and use this water-based dressing right here, and we're just gonna go ahead and coat the entire engine bay, and then we're gonna touch it up when we're done. The stuff I really like to focus on is really just the black plastic. Alright, and I'm going to put a little extra in like certain spots just for an example. Alright guys, and just so we're not wasting another towel, I'm going to go ahead and grab that towel that kind of has some water on it from being stuck in our air intake, and I'm just going to take this towel right here, and we're just going to lightly go over all these surfaces that we put possibly a little bit too much dressing on. Some of this I did on purpose for you guys so that I could show you. And then we even might even take off some dirt that we missed. There's a little dirt on that hose that I missed. And I also could have dressed this guy, but we're just gonna wipe it down with our saturated towel. Alright. All these flat surfaces, guys, I'm trying to go over them, make sure that the Aqua Gloss was applied evenly. You can wipe down all of these surfaces just so they're not so shiny. All right. Alright, now our Aqua Gloss is going to give some UV protection, but the biggest advantage of the Aqua Gloss is it repels dust. So hopefully this will repel some of the dirt, debris, and dust that would want to stick on the engine, or the plastics, or whatever else. Now that we have everything kind of evenly applied and wiped down, buffed into perfection, now we can just kind of hit any of these extra areas that we might want to with the Tornador, just to blast out any remaining moisture, anything that could be in there. right, guys. Let's get our rubber up here. Rubber seal. Make sure that's nice and clean so it can actually seal up against this plastic right here. So for the most part, that is how I take care of like 70 to 80% of my engine details are going to be just like this one, guys. We're just really cleaning the top surfaces. We're not getting anything crazy wet, and we're just avoiding the entire pretty much belt assembly, just so we are not getting water on our alternator. And we always want to cover up any of the air intakes, and if it had a cold air intake, we would definitely want to bag that guy up just so we're not getting any water into the engine itself. So as long as you guys are taking the necessary precautions, it really is easy to clean an engine bay for the most part. If you're working on something that's more custom and has a bunch of chrome and all that kind of stuff, and you can get a little bit more complicated and you want to pick different chemicals, but for the most part, most of the engines that you guys are going to see out there are going to clean up just like this one. At least all your more modern engine bays with a lot of plastic components and stuff like that. This is a super easy way to clean it. We really only need one chemical, a little bit of air, and a couple tools. So that is pretty much it for cleaning up your engine bay and dressing it. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions in the comments down below, let me know. And if you guys have anything special that you guys like to do to your engine bays, let me also know that in the comments down below. But that is pretty much all that I had for today's video, so I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.